Everybody, welcome. Happy Tuesday. I almost blanked out on what day it is, but I totally know the day because we schedule this for Tuesday nights. Hope everyone is doing good. We didn't get enough people voting in that first poll. I just have to say, I think Will Shatner would pull the upset. He would take a giant shat at the polls, as they would say. We are joined by my co-host, Drew Bishop Sy, out in California, who is very hungry. He's a hungry boy.
Hello there.
And Colfax, Cannaday, Mr. B-Wing himself is here as our guest for tonight. Colfax, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, of course. It was an easy decision. I was like, as soon as we were done streaming the last one, I was like, Colfax. That was a really weak snap. There we go. Boom. What day it is? Yeah, I don't know what day it is. Every day feels the same. If you guys didn't know, the 312 show is bi-weekly, so if you're wondering why didn't he stream this last week, it's just because it was our off week. So this is our third episode of the 312 show, and we got a couple of new topics to kind of roll into. So let's head over to the topic screen, and OBS will die in the process. And let's go over what exactly we are going to be talking about tonight. So, you're going to see a lot of the same. You're going to see a bit of different stuff. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Visions. So, last time we talked about Mandalorian. Tonight we're going to talk about Star Wars Visions. I have not seen Star Wars Visions. So, these two here who have seen it are going to lead that discussion. Yeah, you guys have anything to say, any shout-outs before we get rolling? I have a couple of things about my X-Wing tournament that I'd like to get out of the way, but before that, you guys? Anything at all?
You first, man. You first, the guest.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it away.
The guest is you.
Yeah, that's you.
I'm the guest.
That's you.
Excuse me. Shout out to Peabody's Parlor for giving me a sick haircut today.
Looks good, man.
Over in Indiana.
You look slick.
On Mass Avenue.
Looks good. So you're saying I need to go to Indianapolis to get a haircut like that?
Absolutely. I'll refer you. You get 10% off.
I think it was 6 hours on the bus. So that's not bad for a haircut. A 6-hour bus ride isn't really that bad. It's 12 hours both ways, so it is an entire half of a day. But if I plan my day right, I think I can make that work. I do need a haircut badly. I'm also stalling because I'm trying to pull up Spotify so we can get some sick royalty-free beats going on in the background.
Sure, it's half the day, but like, how long is that haircut gonna last?
My hair grows really fast.
Over a day at least, probably.
Yeah. What about you? Do you how often do you guys get a haircut? Like, are we talking like every month, once a month, 2 months?
No.
God no.
As I've grown older, it's been like every 4 or 5 months, just about. But maybe that's just me. My hair seems to grow really long, and it's gotten to the point where, so I had one woman cut my hair ever since I was 3 months old. Well,
what?
2 years ago, yeah, same woman, my whole life.
That's crazy.
And only her. Yeah. She's like part of the family. And then
Damn.
COVID happened, and my family, they kind of had like a small falling out with her. Except for me, because I was like the only one seeing her, as for haircuts. And and then she moved away, and she didn't really tell us after COVID hit. So my wife now cuts my hair, and she's learning. Like she went through like 2 weeks of like vigorous YouTube training before cutting my hair, and that's a thing now that we do, save $20 to $40. So, yeah, that's
nice. Yeah, I mean, haircuts can be expensive. Twitchy 5x5, any thoughts on GSP's scare for this weekend? So during our X-Wing segment, we're going to talk about everything tournaments related. So if you want to sit tight, I promise it'll be worth it. You'll enjoy yourself leading up to that point. And Colfax, let's get a close-up of that hairdo. Get a little closer to that webcam. Let's see this new hairstyle here. Oh my goodness, you even sleek it back? Got some product in there? This is not safe for work.
Dude, this is the Captain America. This is the Captain America haircut. Yeah. Getting ready for Halloween, I see.
Yes. It's like, that's right. Mr. Steal Your B-Wing right there. Oh, man. All right, guys. So, first off, we're going to talk about Random Chicago. So what are we talking about today? If you guys didn't know, I live in Chicago. This is a Chicago flag behind me, and this stream in 312 is all about Chicago and X-Wing and some Star Wars stuff. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about Wrigley Field. What a shock. Let me turn off that poll really quick. And also, the music is like super dubsteppy, so we're going to skip that one. All right, turn off that poll real quick. Wrigley Field, if you guys didn't know, I'm a huge Cubs fan, so this is kind of close to my heart. Some really interesting facts about Wrigley Field. It's the second oldest ballpark, Major League Baseball stadium in the world. It is just behind Fenway Park. It was built in 1914, which I think the Titanic, it sank in 18? No, that was the end of World War One. It was in that time period. Do you guys remember when the Titanic sank? It was like around the time Wrigley Field was built. Pull that up for us, Drew.
1912. April 15th, okay. 1912. So 2 years later, it was built.
So, yeah, and what's crazy is before 2016, the Titanic was more recent than the Cubs winning a championship, which is really sad to think about. That's how long of a drought they had. It was the last stadium to add lights. They added in 1988. If you think about it, that's a really, really... I mean, it's pretty recent. 1988, Wrigley Field, you only played...
That's not that recent.
You're not that old, Drew. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's me.
Come on, Drew. Shut up. Yeah, they played day games at Wrigley Field for a really long time. It was like, I think teams, like, half the teams that went to Chicago to play there hated it. And then the other half were like, at least we get to be done by like 4 or 5. Their first night game ended after 3 innings because it got rained out, which is hilarious. Babe Ruth called his famous shot at Wrigley Field. And if you guys didn't know this, the ivy in the outfield, behind that is a brick wall. It's just, so there's no padding at any inch of the outfield wall. So players have like broken their shoulders and other parts of their body slamming into it, thinking that they could make a catch up against the wall. So they have to like train players how to play in the outfield there, especially, you know, players for the Cubs, because they're going to be there 81 times out of the year playing there. Yeah. They're never going to change that. That's kind of like an iconic part of the stadium. It's just such a weird place. It's so cool. It's old. It's got this amazing history, but it's so weird when you think about all those little things. And it also has a basket that hangs over every inch of the outfield, so home runs are even easier to hit there with the wind blowing out because it's the Windy City, and there's a basket that catches balls that would be caught at the wall for home runs. So it's just like, it's such a weird place. And I thought, why not, you know, get it out of the way and talk about it. No player has ever hit a home run ball off the center field scoreboard, which is manually operated. In terms of it's a hybrid scoreboard. So they have the balls and strikes are electronic, and then all the scores for all the other games are manually operated, which is a lot of work.
I have a question for you though.
Sure.
Question is, has someone hit a home run? And what is it? Well, I guess my first question should be, how high are the nets that surround the outside of the field? Are they high enough that a player can like touch them?
So I don't know if you guys can see. It shows some of the background there too of the wall. It spans out like it's like 16 inches or so. So sure. it can steal a lot of fly balls.
Sure. My question was, has a player ever gone up to catch it?
Oh no. The wall is very tall. That's what you're asking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hit the ball in the net and bounced it out and caught it, and like
that's still a home run.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah.
Home run or not.
It hits the net, it's gone. But that would be pretty awesome. Hey, what's up, Dom? How's it going, man? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So that's Wrigley Field. I don't know if you guys, either of you been to Chicago before? I think I've asked that to you, Drew, before, and you said
absolutely.
You have been. Okay.
Yes,
you never been to Wrigley Field though, right?
No, been near it though. Saw the outside of it. Was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, David Back to the Future prophesized they'd win the World Series in 2015. They were a year off, which is insane. Like the team in 2015 was incredibly good, so it was kind of weird that they were like that close to getting that right. Just like, huh, okay. Back to our topics. We're gonna keep rolling ahead here. So we did Random Chicago. Now it's time for The hot takes. Oh, I love this part so much. I don't know if you guys have been thinking about your hot takes. Drew's trying to spice his up a little bit. Colfax and the Nickel City crew, I gotta say, they have takes. I am constantly battling the general chat with some of the takes. So I'm looking forward to what Colfax has to say here. I wonder what route I want to go tonight. Colfax, let's start with you. I'm gonna think of a couple of spicy ones. See if I can pull one out of my ass here.
First one is gonna be a hot prophecy. Resistant B-Wings, when they come out, they're gonna have 2 green agility.
Oh, it's hot and spicy. We were talking about that. I would be so bummed about that, dude. 8 health, maybe an opportunity for more. And 2 agility. No, thank you.
They get a wartime loadout too. I know it.
Wartime loadout. No, stop it. Stop it.
They get better foils and everything's better.
Oh
no. I think they might have like an extra health, or like an extra hit point.
Yeah.
But
no, just
the resistance Y-wings have 1 agility. I feel like they would have had to have 2 agility for the B-wings to have 2 agility, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
Keep it in mind.
Also, with every X-wing hot take, there has to be a non-X-wing hot take. This is one of our rules here.
I got one.
Oh, Drew has one. All right, I'll let Colfax think through.
I was just thinking about it. Yeah. So all right. So it's October, right? And I'm a huge fan of mummies, and so the hot take that everyone loves talking about is that the Tom Cruise mummy film is like, ooh, the masterpiece is way better than the 1999 cinematic masterpiece with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. So that's my hot take. Tom Cruise is better than that film.
The Tom Cruise mummy, that came out and I never saw it. Just like,
yep, rightfully so.
Yeah.
I forgot that even existed.
Hey, Josh, how's it going? He says, hi, Colfax, hi, Nick, and of course he also means to say hi, Drew.
Oh, you're fine. No one says hi. No one says hello to me. You just keep me in the corner and pull me out when we do.
Here's one. I don't know if this is hot, but some people are pessimistic. The Amazon The Lord of the Rings show is going to be very good. That is my hot take. It's going to be very good, at least the first season. If we think about what has gone into the production and just the pre-production of this show, I have no reason to think it's going to be bad. It just might not be what people are expecting. So that is one of my hot takes, is that the Amazon Lord of the Rings show that takes place in the second age of Middle Earth is going to be good. So, Colfax, got any follow-up?
Ooh.
The X-Wing hot take as we go around.
X-Wing hot take? Let's see, gosh.
Watching Drew eat show. I mean, he is eating.
Dude, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm diabetic. It's later. I tried. Okay.
He's diabetic, you jerk.
I tried making dinner before we started, and we just moved into a new apartment, and our oven sucks. So now I have food.
That's alright.
So, sorry. Yep.
You no need to apologize.
X-Wing hot take. No bids are good.
No X-Wing. It can't be X-Wing related. No.
I told him it was X-Wing related because we went around with 2 no X-Wings and 1.
We live and breathe X-Wing, so it's hard. It's hard.
Okay.
Non X-Wing. Summer's overrated. I hate the heat.
Quite literally hot take. He hates the heat, folks. I also am a big fan of like the weather that we're getting now. This fall weather is perfect. 70 degrees. You can wear a sweater in the morning. You can take it off if you want, but you're not too hot if you wear it. You can wear shorts or you could wear pants. The humidity's gone down in most of the areas where it's way too humid. It's a great time of the year. I'm right there with you. The summer here, at least in Chicago, Indianapolis also is pretty muggy and humid because we're not far apart, our states. Yes, I know Indianapolis is a city in the state of Indiana, guys. But anyways, this is for us, for Colfax and I especially. Drew wouldn't know because he lives in California and the weather's always nice there. Coming from a guy that lived there in California too.
I was like, wait a minute, Nick.
It gets so hot during the summer. It's almost unbearable. So it's nice to be in this groove at this point, and then we'll hit the winter, and we will not like that very much. But I guess we both lean a little colder than hotter, even though we're both very hot gentlemen, all three of us rather. Oh, look at us, the Sexy Men Club. Deslin earlier saying, where he said, "What's up, my sexy gentleman? Hello, sexy gentleman. What have I missed? You have missed not much, and also a lot at the same time." So that is hot takes. Unless Drew, you got one more.
No, I'm slowly. They're slow baking. So,
Okay. All right. We'll think of more for the next time.
Absolutely.
Now it is time for guest rapid fire. So here is how this one works. So 45 seconds for Colfax to answer a list of questions that I'd say a decent amount of them have been submitted by our Discord community. This is my opportunity to shamelessly plug our awesome Discord community. If you want to be a part of it, !Discord, you will get a link and hop in and have a good time with us. We'd love to have you on our streams as well. Anyways, so are you ready, Colfax? Are you ready for me to start the timer?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. Let me switch back over to our main screen here and get our timer ready. Let me pull up the questions. So the record was set by Matt Carey, who got to number 12. The questions are different. Some of them are the same. And we are going to start in 3, 2, 1. All right. Life or Monopoly?
Life.
You have a time machine. Where do you go?
1972.
Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
Yes.
What would you do with $200,000?
Pay off someone's student loans.
Oh, pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Best song to jam out to?
Oof. Let's Dance by David Bowie.
Nice. Best Philo and X-Wing?
Gina Moon song.
Favorite non-sci-fi movie? Jesus Christ.
Favorite non-sci-fi movie? Oh God, what's the name of it? The way things are.
Okay, and lastly, we have hit time. Best late night television host. Doesn't have to be current.
I always really enjoyed Conan O'Brien.
Conan's awesome. He's
Yeah.
just so good.
Absolutely.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
He's also not super pretentious. He like constantly self-deprecates
Yeah.
at like the perfect times, which is really, because a lot of the late night they come off. Even Stephen Colbert, sometimes I feel like he thinks that he's like the hottest shit, even though he's very talented and very funny. But Conan's a good one. So this is one that we've gotten to. So you got to 10. One of the ones we like to ask, I've asked Greg and I've asked Matt. Favorite board game. So tabletop game, X-Wing's a tabletop game. So not X-Wing. What's your favorite board game?
Ooh, favorite board game. Let's see. Nope, not a board game. Not a board game.
Deslin, Gloomhaven, naturally.
Even. I'm actually going to go with Zero. So it's like this, originated in like, I want to say Eastern Asia, and it's like you get like all these little tiles and you have a little stone. Yeah, Zero. Yeah, you got it, Deslin.
I thought you said Zero for a second. I was like, there's a game called Zero.
No, it's Zero. It's just like, it's super quick to play. It's fun. Like the game lasts 10 minutes and you can play with like 4 people, more people. And it's really quick. It's fun. And it's a really great palate cleanser if you have just like games that just like drag on and take a really long time.
Cool.
It's a blast.
There's a game that I feel similar, like that gives me this similar vibes. I'm not saying it's necessarily the same kind of game, but Carcassonne, which I got introduced to by my old roommate a couple of years ago, which is just like it's a very. Have you played that game before? Or do you know about it? It's basically like, Drew, how would you like explain that game? It's basically a puzzle. You build out a puzzle in a way. It's not really a puzzle, but you're building out a landscape.
Yeah, you're
and
building
there
on
are
a
roads
map.
you're trying to attach. You're like building on a map, right?
Yep. Yeah, so you're building on a map, and from, oh man, it's been a long time since I played it, but I believe you're trying to build it so that you can get like points. There are things on the tiles, right? So someone will put a tile down, and then you'll have a chance to put a tile down, and it's random which tiles you get, and you're trying to you're trying to block people out, which is kind of interesting with the roads. Yeah, the roads have to connect, right? There's little roads, there's sometimes little towns on them, and you get points from like building out this map, and it's really fun. It's fast. And then there are other Nick, how long have you actually played? Have you played with anyone that has like 6 of the expansions and you use tiles that are like
no. I've only played the base game.
Okay, cool.
Star Wars Rebellion. So we got a few honorable mentions in here. Cosmic Encounter is so good. Movie Maker's an obscure Monopoly-like game from the 70s. I'm not familiar with that one. Star Wars Rebellion is incredible. I feel like it's almost a cheat to say a Star Wars game is fair board game, but honest, there's no rules like that, so it's fine. But Star Wars Rebellion is phenomenal. Highly recommend the mod on TTS as well, guys. If you're on the fence about maybe buying it, it's incredible. Yeah, Drew, you know I should play at some point. I think that'd be fun. We can always save and quit too. Godzilla, Tokyo Clash, Outer Rim. Those are 2. Outer Rim's great, man. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good pick. I haven't played that in a while, and they are making an expansion for that. People are speculating there's going to be new dice, guys. There's no evading in Outer Rim. So let's get over that part. It's pretty funny that people are thinking that's going to happen, unless they introduce. But it would be really cheap if they're like, we're introducing rules now where you could evade things. I'm like, you guys did this for the X-Wing players. Lame, but cool, I guess, because it's new dice. All right. That was our guest rapid fire questions. So number 12 is still the time to beat. I think we're going to move up to a minute because I think that the 10 to 12 range, 45 seconds goes by so fast. And to be honest, some of the questions I'm asking are rack people's brains, like favorite board game, favorite non-sci-fi movie. Unless you were thinking of it in advance, you can't just rattle that off. So I'll maybe push some of the harder ones to the back end. It would be cool if there was a way to, like, you would have to have a producer on the side doing this that would add time every time that a question was answered. That would be pretty sweet. Like, you get like 2 seconds every time you answer a question. You see how far you can go. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we can figure it out. Silliest game is the creature that ate Sheboygan. I'm not. It sounds silly. The creature that ate Sheboygan. Also, Blackberry Jam Studios is just such a great name. I wish maybe I have to steal that name and completely change the channel's name to that because it's so good. All right, we're going to be moving on to Star Wars lore. Star Wars lore time, and this one is for Colfax. Honestly, I'm excited to be able to talk about something maybe not character related. So we're talking about the B-Wing. What? Who would have thought? I didn't realize Colfax liked B-Wing so much until today. I had no clue. Until today, and as usual, Wikipedia being my trusted source for information. We'll open up a little B-Wing discussion here, but let me kind of go over the B-Wing. So the A/SF-01 B-Wing Starfighter, also designated as the A/SF-01 B-Wing Assault Starfighter, okay, more commonly referred to as the B-Wing, was heavily armed Rebel Alliance single-pilot starfighter and bomber, manufactured by Slane and Corporal. The B-Wing saw action during the Galactic Civil War. Of course, you see it in Return of the Jedi, as we saw on screen here a moment ago. And it was subsequently substituted by the B-Wing Mark II, which is one that we might see in Star Wars X-Wing here not too far from now. It's a relatively poor dogfighter, but it was primarily designed as the blockade buster, in quotes, to attack and destroy large capital ships. And as such, it was equipped with weaponry and systems normally reserved for much larger craft. The B-Wing boasted more firepower than most patrol ships and corvettes, and at the same time, it was slower and less maneuverable than the Y-Wing. So are you saying, Colfax, maybe it should be a zero agility ship? Gave off a significant infrared signature and required more maintenance than any other Rebel starfighter. Sounds like a pain in the ass, is really what it is, but a beautiful pain in the ass. The command pod featured a cockpit for the pilot, life support systems, a flight computer, comlink transceiver, and various sensor systems such as long-range forward scanner, short-range tactical scanner, and a weather radar. While the B-Wing featured an ejector seat, I didn't know that. The pod could also disconnect from the rest of the starfighter with a separate sublight engine at the rear of the pod. The avionics packages were on par with those used by small capital ships, and advanced targeting systems allowed pilots to synchronize attacks across multiple B-Wing fighters. Also, awesome scene in Star Wars Rebels is when Hera hops in that blade wing and absolutely detonates one of the smaller light cruisers. Super cool scene. The B-wing is just a really interesting ship. Colfax, why do you love the B-wing so much? Like, what's the connection for you? Where do we go back for that? Oh, he's muted.
Yeah, I was like, we lost him there.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I was wondering if you were like thinking so hard that we'd have to wait a few minutes.
Yep.
But it actually goes back to the old Rogue Squadron games on the
Let
GameCube.
me restart your capture too, because you froze on.
Oh man.
There we go. Go ahead. You're good.
Talk about
Start us again. Start it over again.
It was the GameCube when they added the B-wing in, right?
I think so. I think you could see it in the 64 game, but in the GameCube game, they actually had it, and the first mission you can do it was you had to take down the Star Destroyer, and you had to do like it counted as like 3 shield units, like the big balls up top and below, and it was just so cool. Now, unfortunately, the limitations of the game, they didn't allow for any of like the gyroscoping turning, but from there, it was just like, holy shit. This thing's cool. It spins around the cockpit. Like, if you're like just like seeing the sea like fly through space and like the whole ship rotates around the cockpit, that's gotta be the coolest shit you've ever seen. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just like it's this wonky, kind of like weird, kitschy ship. I don't know. It's weird. It's like odd. It's just like
No,
what kind of ship? What is it?
With the design too, it's like so much harder to hit when it's spinning and like rotating around the cockpit, shooting the whole time too, which is super dope. I mean, it's got to be incredibly hard to fly one of those things, like close range, close quarters, But I would think that kind of design would make it a lot harder to hit if it's constantly rotating and shifting directions in terms of where the wings are.
Right.
Like, so.
Will it though? Because the pilot is always stationary, right? But I guess the pod could be moving too, so it can kind of be like off kilter as it's spinning. Because I do feel like if just the blade or like the body part is spinning and the cockpit's sitting there, the pilot, the Empire, whoever's shooting at it, just shoots the dot right at the very top of the eye spinning, and that's it. Right?
It's like how you win first-person shooters. You click on their head and you win.
Yeah, it's true.
Right, exactly.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely feel like as X-Wing players, there's this really... The B-Wing is a very special, like, centerpiece in my heart. I feel like I've learned a lot about a lot of different ships because of X-Wing, but the B-Wing just plays a really cool role in the game, because it feels like it does feel like thematically plays the exact same kind of role as it does as we know it externally outside of the game, in Star Wars lore, in shows, in the movies. I wish the Blade Wing was more of a thing in X-Wing, but that's a whole different thing. It's a super fascinating ship. I mean, it's definitely one of the coolest designs because, again, that cockpit rotation. Like, the other Rebel ships are pretty standard. They're just like an object with a cockpit and a couple of weapons, but this thing is much more dynamic, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it's also weird in Return of the Jedi, you don't really get the vibe that it has much range of motion because there's such old movies. They're just kind of like this. But yeah, played a huge role in the battle over Endor, the Death Star 2, or the assault on the blockade there in front of the Death Star. Yeah, anything else about the B-Wings, guys?
Let's see. I think it's really cool that, like, I don't know, a little cool, a little unfortunate that in Return of the Jedi, like, so many, or at least a decent amount of the B-Wing scenes got cut because their, like, really narrow, thin profile wasn't working against the blue screens. And
That's
so
a bummer.
it's not showing up.
Yep.
Get rid of it.
Also, like, sorry to interject, but the outfit, the pilot outfit and the helmet is super cool. So awesome. It's like, and they show a brief scene of one of them flying, you know, one of the pilots in the B. But it's so different. I mean, the A-Wing pilot looks the closest to the B-Wing pilot, but they have this really interesting like outfit profile that they wear versus all the other pilots of the Rebel Alliance. It's like the helmet is elongated.
It's like the souped up Lobot band.
Yeah.
Yep, it is. It really is.
Yeah, and I understand why it needs a lot of maintenance. There's some squadrons footage as well, you know, which you can see how hard it probably is to to be able to maneuver with it. That game is hard, man. It is a hard game to play. It's really fun, but the Defender and the B-Wing are really tough because of how non-maneuverable they are. Like, they don't really maneuver as well. The Defender doesn't really make sense. But
yeah, B-Wings, it's slow. It's like driving a truck, but God, it'll turn on dime. Got those one talons.
It loves being stressed, too. Most of them. Gina Moonsong, best pilot in X-Wing. Thank you for that one. That's beautiful.
The best hot take.
Nick.
This is beautiful. I love it. All right, and speaking of X-Wing, it's time for X-Wing talk. We're going to talk about tournaments for this segment of X-Wing. So we're not taking notes this time, but I do want participation from everyone here. Talking about our relationship with competitive X-Wing. There's me on the right side there in that photo. I was playing in Arkansas, Jonesboro, Arkansas this past weekend. I got invited by Arch Alliance to go and share an Airbnb with them and play at the Wolf Squadron Open. There's me again watching the final game. I clearly didn't make final table, but I did make top 4 with Gavin in the E-Wing, a Rogue Squadron Escort, and Luke. Super, super, super proud of myself for taking something I love and doing well with it. It's only my second cut that I've made, and it's the farthest I've gotten before. But yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty with the state of competitive X-Wing. Because, well, we're still kind of in a pandemic, and we've changed hands. X-Wing has changed hands. I'm going to open up a poll really quick. Do you play X-Wing competitively? That is up now. Let me make it a little bit bigger for us. There we go. Boom. So there is no officially backed tournaments right now. No Worlds. There hasn't been any official announcements as if we're even gonna get something at Adepticon, which would be the soonest that we could see a push, OP push from AMG. LVO is happening in January, but that's going to be run by the Fly Better crew. That's not something that AMG is putting on themselves. I'm sure they'll be willing to partner with Fly Better, but that's, you know, independent really of AMG's plans as far as I know right now. So the poll is, do you play X-Wing competitively? Yes, you used to, or no? No wrong answers, just curious to kind of gauge everyone here what they think. I do have a sad story I want to add about my game. So I played Matt Carey. If you guys don't know who Matt Carey is, then you don't know X-Wing. Competitive X-Wing, at least. He played Vader Defender and Rack in the Decimator. He beat me in Swiss. That was my only loss in Swiss. And then for my top 4 game, I got paired up with him again. And I told him, like, I'm going to get revenge, dude. Like, I'm going to stop Goliath, man. I'm going to do this with my little E-Wings and Luke. And I was right there. I had the chance to move on. It was a close game. I was in a decent position, and I flipped my dial direction by accident, and I had Luke flying off the board, unhalved, 76-point Luke. And I almost came back, but I lost the game. And that was a huge gut punch. So, you know, I was in uncharted territory, and naturally I made a massive mistake. So really felt bad. Matt is an amazing player, and it felt like I was this close to like beating one of the best. So that's a good feeling and a really crappy feeling, because the way it didn't work out is really just a big bummer. I'll never get over it. It's just disappointing, but it was a lot of fun. Shout out to Kier Heil from Wolf Squadron for putting on the event. and amazing prize support. A lot of people donated prizes. There was like almost $4,000 worth of prizes, I guess. Like all set a few thousand at least, and a 5,000 for charity after NEA Game Fest. It was all for charity. So
wow,
super awesome. You suck so bad you're not competitive. Well, we've all. You don't have to be good to play competitively, but it is harder. Even when putting forth my best effort, I'd love to try only local. Yeah, in-store events, local events, that's definitely the most fun too. If you're not feeling it, if you're not super competitive, you at least get out of the house and play a few games. But yeah, guys, so Colfax, I'll start with you, man. What's your relationship with competitive X-Wing? Like, how do you consider yourself a competitive player? How often would you play in competitive events before the crazy topsy-turvy world we're in now?
For me, I would not consider myself a competitive player. I think most of it comes from I don't think my skill level is there yet. But also, at least, I don't know if we're going to talk about meta or not. I don't know
anything. This is open X-Wing discussion right now. So.
Gotcha. I currently don't know what is in meta. The last thing I knew what was meta was spam text, and then Procket. No, not Procket.
Yeah, the Barons.
It was Procket A-Wings for a little bit.
The Barons.
Yeah.
But like, that's about the extent I know. So a lot of it is like lack of skill for me. I'm not quite good enough, and like the good lists that are going to be brought to competitive events just aren't appealing to me.
So you and I have a similar player profile in the sense that we like to list build ourselves, and we like to use things that we like. So you are a big fan of the B-Wing, so you like to build lists with B-Wings. I love the E-Wing, so I typically build lists with E-Wings. The meta shifting has kind of made them better, but I was still playing them before they were considered to be any good. But also I'm super competitive. Like I am gonna roll with the punches and go with my own guns, the ones that I make myself. But I'm not gonna see myself on like any sort of top stage. I'm just gonna try to win as much as I can but be a good opponent at the same time. They can cross over, believe it or not. You can be hyper competitive but also be a decent person to play with. I think it's important, there's very few that I know of, personally that aren't like that, but it's just important to note that it's just, a respectful game state is important. Both players just having a good time is important. But also the meta is honestly building for the meta, playing for the meta is kind of dull and boring. Even though there are a lot of options in X-Wing, I don't think at any point has the 2.0 meta been incredibly bland. Maybe with the Barons and the spam text it was at its worst, but hey, I'll take it. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been the same 3 or 4 lists. At least there was some variety in there. I have only played in a few tournaments so far, but it's also with COVID, I feel like it's just a great excuse to go somewhere and do something for a while. Like I feel so anxious sometimes, like staying inside all the time. So what about you, Drew?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the opposite. I've been playing this game for a long time since it came out, and it got to the point where I was trying to go to every big event that I could get my hands on. And 3 years in, I went to Worlds, made top 16, was like, wow, cool, like I'm one of the guys, like I'm good at this game. And then life happened, man, and it's been 4 or 5 years now, and got a new job. I moved like 4 times, and the game sort of dropped off for me. I used to play, 3 to 4 games a week, right, in person with friends, and like really trying to keep up with the meta and like, okay, what is the situation for this list? What is the situation against this list? How do you how is turn 0, right, helpful for you to get in there and beat some of these like larger meta lists, right, the swarms and all that. And now I'm super casual. Like I don't play as much as I want to. I can't play as much as I want to. And there's times where even Nick, right, as you're talking about with Luke, where you like do the move and you're looking at your dial and you're looking at your ship after it's moved and you're like, if I played this game more, I wouldn't have done that, right? Like if I thought about it a little bit longer, I would be okay. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So it's like, love the game.
Slips of judgment,
Absolutely. Just, yeah, I play it now to go see my friends, and I guess that's also part of the COVID bit, right? Like, get vaccinated, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart, and try to play in person, playing outside. I went to 2 tournaments actually over the last 4 months outside, something I've never done before, and it was actually really fun. So I suggested, if you can, obviously winter time is coming, and it's getting colder, and the sun goes down further now.
I
so
know. A lot sooner.
Yeah.
So you guys can see my disappointed face there watching the final table, because I was wallowing in self-pity. So even with Spantex, you've seen the rise of Bosk, was pretty cool stuff. So fun little story of the few that I have tonight. I went up. One of the matchups I was most scared of was Dan Peterson's Bosk, Fen, and Guri list. There's a lot of damage potential and a lot of health, mostly from Bosk, but 2 ships that are hard to kill. And I got first player, and I dealt 10 crits into Bosk. He had a hull breach, and then every result was face up after the first 4 crits. Almost every crit in the damage deck was on Bosk. And at the very end, when it was time to shoot back, he got a blinded pilot, and he couldn't use Greedo. It was absolutely disgusting. And I did something similar to Death Ray, Vinny and Ray. Death Ray, if you guys don't know, that's talking about meta. One of the obscure 2-ship lists where the damage potential is just off the charts because of a few fringe upgrades that are only good on really 1 or 2 pilots. And Death Ray utilizes some really cheap crew for some really nasty damage results. And there were 7 red tokens on Ray, and she had disabled power regulator and flew off the board. And it's just if there isn't a description of what Gavin Darklighter can do to a ship, I mean, that's it. I felt bad. He was just not having it. I mean, Vinny had 5 crits. Ray got a hull breach. The first crit was a hull breach. It was so nasty. Hull breach is not good on 1 agility ships, folks. It's just not good. Not that it's good on anything. But yeah, I mean, Twitchy 5x5, I think participation rewards is the key to mixing casual with competitive. Absolutely. Happy to pay $5 or $10 for. Yeah, if you could get some cool cards or a couple of tokens or just something to really make the participation exciting, it does ease the kind of tension of of people's the matchups, I'm gonna get crushed by these people, because there are people that do go to tournaments just to kind of steamroll. There's those people.
Baby seals, as it were.
Yeah, the club baby seals.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I think that's the biggest thing for me is it's so hard to want to play a tournament where it's just well, I guess I'll pay $10 to get just blown out of the water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why would I pay money to do that when I can just play casually?
And then you think why is this a thing? Vader Defender, guys, is so Vader Defender in the hands of someone like Matt Carey is a flying cheat code. It's ridiculously strong. Because he's always going to get 3 hits or 4 hits if he's at range 1.
Mm-hmm.
And he, with green tokens, he can initiative kill something, or he's at range 3 with an evade or focus evade.
Yep.
It's just really hard to get any damage on him. Those lists are built to just crush most lists. Any 3 or 4 ship lists, it just destroys. So those are the feels bad games, and that's where you're why is this a thing? Why can you do this or this or this in X-Wing? Quad Phantoms comes to mind, Triple Epsilons comes to mind, Spantex comes to mind. I stole a little GSP footage from Worlds. I could not poach the FFG final game because it's a 5-hour live stream highlight playback, so it was way too long a video. But yeah, there's Ollie Pocknell, who's the current world champion still, who is an incredible player, super nice, and a great example of someone who's super competitive, who's also a very pleasant person to play with. And sometimes getting crushed by those people, you don't really realize just how bad of a game you're having, because they're at least pleasant to play with, right? That's really important too.
You're talking through it with them too, right? I think that's the best part, right? Like if anyone who is playing casual but thinking about going to tournaments, right? It's not always about people trying to like kick the crud out of others, right? Like there is this camaraderie of like learning how to fly, using different tactics, like different maneuvers, different setups, and a lot of that stuff you may not learn in the tiny pond of people that you play with locally, right? Of course, with COVID, it's like one or two people, maybe, if you're lucky, definitely a bit more. But yeah, I highly suggest dipping your toes into your local competitive scene, just to sort of get that feel for it, and because this community too, and that's the big thing. Like the X-Wing community is so wonderful. If with the whole GSP and all that, and the massive online tournaments that they do and everything, it's really wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, Colfax, you played in Tri-City tournament. You don't consider yourself to be very competitive. You made top cut. Were you made it top 16 or was it top 32?
I made.
I think it was 16 was what we did 32 cut, didn't we? Didn't we do top 32?
No, we went to 16. I barely made it. I made
it. You made it. You made it, son of a bitch. Yeah.
That's the other fun thing too. Very quickly. Funny story. The first cut I ever made, 5 people dropped because they wanted the prizes, but they didn't want to play for the rest of the tournament. So I went from 13th down to 8, and I made it into the cut. I was like, I didn't get any of the prizes, but like I just wanted to play the game because I loved it, and I was like, yeah.
There's something exhilarating about like winning even a couple of games at a tournament. You're like, you know what, this is fun. You like kind of feed off of that. Obviously, if you have bad matchups and stuff, you don't really feel that. But like, Colfax, I'm sure you were pretty thrilled and like exhilarated by being in the cut and like being able to like play, in the like what I consider to be like a playoff. It's basically the playoffs of the best players, which is a cool company to be in. Even no matter how big or small the tournament is, you're still one of the better players of that tournament. So it feels good.
And then
absolutely.
And then sometimes there's ghost in your dice, right?
Like... And sometimes there's ghost in your dice, yeah. When you're flying elusive E-Wings, too, you really need to rely on some decent variants. So, yeah. Cool. I think faction rewards are good as well. GSP is doing this, but I would have liked those pins to be something useful for the game, like additional locks, focuses, or force tokens in metal. Yeah, so here's the cost. So some of the coolest prizes that we want are the most cost prohibitive. Metal tokens are incredibly expensive, and so the thing is, they can't. Well, in a bulk, yeah. And Dion deals with the massive volume of players, right? So it's really hard to balance value with quantity of prizes, and you don't want to pass on a lot of the cost of the players because then it's $40 to play, and it's like, well, that's a lot. It's just, pretty steep. But I get it. It's obviously the pins. Dion did the pins last time too. I don't really have any comments about, I think the GSP prizes are great overall, but I do get it. Like, it's hard to get prizes that satisfy at this point of how long we've been playing this game with all the prize support that's existed. It's hard to get unique prizes that like satisfy something that you want or need still. Just it's tough. We're at that point.
Is that something that the like that chat would like to see more? Right, like those high-end prizes, right? Has Dion, do you know, or you guys discussed like the possibility of doing that? But of course, I know, right? Like a $40 entry to like a tabletop simulator tournament, right? Where you're like, oh, that's a little much, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's hard to. Tabletop Simulator is free for all of us, right? At least in terms of the X-Wing mod. It costs money to buy Tabletop Simulator, like the game itself, but. The X-Wing mod's free in it. We all have access to it. So it's hard to really... There is a threshold that you have to be careful in crossing when it comes to charging for events because you don't have to pay for any of the actual physical... Like, none of that is a factor. Getting the space, renting out, scheduling time with your local game store. Ollie bumping the camera there. He's lucky to knock it over. And... Yeah, it's just all the tribulations of having to deal with setting up an in-person tournament. So like you get to the point, and also shipping is brutal. Dion ships internationally. Well, think about it. If I put together a tournament that was as big as a GSP tournament, like let's say 90 to 100 people, and a quarter of them live outside of the United States. And I'm offering metal tokens and like stuff that is going to be over an ounce. The shipping cost as well as the production cost is going to be super high. So
yeah,
I think there's a way we can get better prices though. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Twitchy 5x5. Yeah, Australia is just, even to this day, you know, being from California, I still don't quite understand why things are so expensive to move down there and ship from there. But like, that is absolutely a thing.
I do not envy those from down under that have to pay an exorbitant cost for almost anything, but like X-Wing. I know Lego is really expensive there too. You guys see there's a couple of pictures of the FO bombers. They had to take them all off every single base because they're too big. They just ram and everything.
Hold on, is that a hot take? Is that a hot take? The FO bombers need to be on medium-sized bases.
I don't know if I think that's just true. It's obnoxious. Like Matt Carey posted that photo and he's like, "This is how you play FO bombers." He just didn't have them on the bases.
Have you gotten a chance to play with those in person yet? The bombers?
I've played against.
Oh, okay.
And like, as soon as ships start to get close to each other, it's like, all right, popped them all off, set them aside. It's like, all right, we're playing with bases now. And just like, man, that sucks.
Doesn't look right.
That's why I play the game.
It doesn't look right.
Push little plastic ships around.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Slap them on medium bases. Should be medium bases. I'll say it.
Yeah. There it is.
But yeah, the X-Wing community has been, tournament scene is alive and well right now virtually. A lot of people have kind of a stigma against playing on Tabletop Simulator. There are issues that I have, like the fact that imperfections and mistakes, like bumping and stuff, is really a part of the game in real life. So you lose those things in TTS, but it also is nice to have the kind of ease of access to just kind of spawn your list and play. So there's definitely benefits and drawbacks. I mean, I love to being able to play like Colfax or Drew or people from anywhere just on a whim. That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, it's good to see that the tournament scene online is alive and well, and we're starting to see like some local tournaments popping up that aren't necessarily, sponsored or have OP kits. But guys, do me a favor. If you have a local group that is putting together even a small little tournament, I think you should go. It's really important to kind of continue to support the stores, to support your local scene, because now more than ever, I think there's a lot of different areas where the local scene is kind of hanging in the balance. Like, is it still going to be a thing? A lot of people move on from X-Wing over COVID. It's been so long. So try it out if you haven't already. And those of you, you know who you are. If you already like playing in tournaments, you'll be there. So you got a tournament this Sunday, and then Scarif. Twitchy 5x5 mentioned Scarif. Is Scarif hyperspace only as well? I think it's the last extended event, but we had the last one, which was Hoth was hyperspace. I'm pretty sure Scarif is extended though, but correct me if I'm wrong. It is extended. Thank you. Yeah, so what are we looking out for in one of the newest extended events post points change? Meta-wise, I'll keep this kind of short. I think we're going to see, and this is no bias of mine, but it might seem like it, we are going to see a lot more Gavin because he's so cheap. So Rebels are going to be a lot more popular because the RZ-1 A-Wing pilots are really good and they can block, and I-4 initiative, a lot of overlap with the new pilots. We're going to see a lot more Gavin. I think one of the most played factions is going to be Rebels. Scum, Bosk is still really good. You're going to see plenty of Bosk. We might see more Guri because she's a lot cheaper now. Dalen is going to be popular because Dalen can now take prime thrusters and kind of be anywhere he wants. It's kind of a meme, but he can be decent. So Dalen being able to be anywhere he wants even while stressed is kind of silly.
You give him afterburners, you give him prime thrusters.
Yeah. It's 15 points.
It's
right?
so much.
Yeah, it makes him expensive. You put outmaneuver on him, it's ridiculous. Dash Rendar, I played against Doug Howe, who had Dash and Han. We're gonna see probably a lot of 2-ship lists featuring like Dash and Han or Resistance Ray. Death Ray is still pretty good. I don't expect to see a lot of Republic. I don't expect to see a ton of Separatists. And First Order is probably going to be one of the more popular ones next to Rebels because of Whisper, the new Whisper pilots, and more importantly, honestly, the bombers. They're better.
Yeah,
They're
that was what I was
even
going to
better.
say.
Bombers are cool.
Yep.
So
The bombers are gross.
yeah, I think we'll see plenty of Breach. Breach gets that lock after boosting over or fully executing a maneuver over another ship. And if you give him Daredevil or Skill Bombardier, shout out to Max, by the way, for this nasty combo. Daredevil, Skill Bombardier, and Prox Mines. You can Daredevil a hard one and then drop a Prox Mine with the 2 template on someone. Just filthy. There's a lot of interesting things that you can do with the FO bombers. So Rebels and First Order, those are the 2 I'd look out for the most. Is there anything else that comes to mind at the top of my head that's like super meta strong? Vader Defender, probably. Empire, I would imagine most Empire lists are going to feature Vader or Interceptors, I guess. But Vader Defender and Rack is just like so good. So, yeah.
But on the opposite end too, you still have the Rebels. Like, what is it? Shout out to Marcel Manzano. He went 4-0 with Dash Hera in the Ghost. It was like, oh my god, it's so much beef to chew through. And a lot of
Marcel
dice.
won his four round tournament with a Hera with Intimidation, Zeb Aurelios, Advanced Sensors, and a Saw Gerrera, and I think a Dorsal Turret. Basically, Advanced Sensors, a target lock, crashes into somebody, takes an agility away, shoots them with 5 dice, double modded, takes damage to modify all eyeballs to crits, and makes a lot of people very sad very fast. And then there's Dash, who's also around, shooting, through obstacles. Outrider's only 6 points, so Dash with Outrider is going to be a thing.
Oh, absolutely.
5 HMPs is a thing now because the stupid repulsor lift things are 0 points now, which is stupid. 5 HMPs. It's going to be strong, but it's also incredibly boring. One of the most boring X-Wing lists you can play. So if you want to be boring, take 5 HMPs. But it's okay if that's your thing. Good for you. I just think you should find something more fun.
Go ahead. Take generic pilots. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you can give some of them ion missiles. It all fits. It all fits.
Sprinkle the missiles in there to your taste.
Yeah. So that was Star Wars X-Wing talk. If you guys have anything else you want us to mention before we go tonight about X-Wing, let us know. Again, this are 3 people that all have 3 people here tonight that all have experience playing X-Wing competitively and ultra casually. So we love X-Wing, and that's why we have made it a big part of this show, even though there is more to life than X-Wing. I sometimes don't believe that, but it is. Guys, let's talk about one of the new Star Wars shows. Let's try that one more time. Wait.
Or sideshows. It's not canon, but it's the new
It's not
media,
canon.
right?
Star Wars Visions. So let's move on to our next topic, Star Wars Visions, which I have not seen. So you guys are going to lead this discussion. I will have questions for you guys. Go ahead. Colfax, describe what is Star Wars Visions to somebody that is not familiar.
So I would describe Star Wars Visions as essentially like shorter Star Wars stories such as Solo that are non-canon and animated. I feel like that's a pretty good description.
Yeah. And they've made it kind of important, they made it sure that people know it's not canon, just because it's very extreme, right? It's like some ridiculous stuff happening.
Oh yeah.
Just
a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. It's they get a bit much sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things, but Drew, how would you describe it any differently?
No, sadly, I'm not like a huge anime guy, but I have my favorite anime series and I collect it and I watch it, and I'm well aware of the media and things like that. And no, I think it hits the nail on the head. I know that for some reason, and I don't know if this was Lucasfilm, but a lot of these Japanese animation studios could not get the rights for Star Wars to like play in the Star Wars universe. until now. And that's why this was kind of like a huge thing for all of these studios to really dive in and like show the types of stories that they want to tell, or ones that, you know, some of their animators had grown up with that were like, oh, it'd be really cool to see this. Oh, I want to see this. And I gotta be honest with you, they all look beautiful, but some of them are hit and miss, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But that's my take on them, at least.
So, what would you say to somebody that, like me, who does not like anime? Is there a sales pitch to be made?
Well, I guess the question is, why don't what about anime don't you like? What about Japanese cartoons doesn't tickle your fancy? You know, like
I think the styles or like the cliche.
I think it's overly bombastic to me.
Like, okay.
Just like
I'm gonna look up what that word means.
It's just like where you can't think of like something happens, just like, oh, this is one of the animes where I can just do anything, huh?
I think there's like, to me, like it's all or nothing in terms of like there's no subtlety in a lot of cases. It's just a lot of in your face like ridiculousness, and the frame rate thing. Like there's a good amount of anime that it was in like 8 or 12 frames per second. It's kind of like moving pictures, which again, it's all it's all a style that is, you know, very much beloved, especially in America. I mean, the wave of anime lovers like that I've met through college, like in my animation classes, like I was outnumbered when it came to anime. Like I was one of the few people that didn't really care for it, and it's no shot against the artist, because on it, a lot of it is beautiful. I like the actual like frame by frame animation illustrations. I think it's really just when it's all like composited together, it's just way too much for me. It's like overload, I think, is why I don't personally like anime. That's me. So is there a sales pitch to someone like that isn't into it to like try it, or do you think they would just hate it?
Oh, well, this is interesting. Yeah, so Colfax, go first, and then I'll jump in there.
Okay, gotcha. I guess for me, it's just like, I think you should give it a shot, especially since it's within media, and I don't want to say genre, but like, I don't know, a theme that you're familiar with. It's like Star Wars. If it's someone that like really enjoys Star Wars, like, yeah, give it a shot. This might be your way to get into it, or like even if you don't want to get into anime in general, just like give all these like different like studios, give them like the longest one's like 22 minutes. Just give them a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another huge interesting thing about this too, because there is that added layer that it is in fact Star Wars, or it is in fact not Star Wars, which is something that I do want to talk about as soon as we're done discussing this with you, Nick. Yeah, I totally agree with Colfax. Like, give it a shot. There's definitely a couple of episodes I'm sure you and I will be like, I think if you're gonna dive in or try to, you should start with these episodes, and then you can branch out into some of the others if you liked what So
again, I mean, it's really just me asking you guys a bunch of questions about this because I'm really trying to get a feel for it. So the people that like anime that I've talked to about this show, there are a few that they strongly dislike. Now, is that what would you attribute to what do you attribute to that? What do they not like about, like, what makes it not good in their eyes? It clearly doesn't have to do with the anime itself, right? Or maybe it does.
Or the artist or anything like that, right? So I had a big discussion with my best friend about this, and the big thing is, and I'll ask both of you, in a nutshell, what is Star Wars? What sort of genres are they? What is Star Wars? It's sci-fi with a lot of, and The Mandalorian used a bunch of this. It's Western, right? Yeah, Western.
Or samurai related.
Or samurai related content. Yeah, that sort of spaghetti Western style.
Yeah, well, cowboys are samurai adjacent.
Right. Excellent. Yes, this is very true. So this is quite interesting because I, watching Visions with my wife, she's also a big anime gal, we loved it. I love these random stories. Some of them have no fighting in them, which I think is very interesting for a Star Wars universe, because there's a lot of like good versus evil, good and bad. But my best friend did sort of bring it up to me. A lot of these shorts have sci-fi, but no Western stuff in them. and he was really turned off by the fact that, watching a Japanese cartoon with a lightsaber doesn't make it Star Wars, especially if there's no Western aspects missing from it. And so he watched the first episode, which is the black and white, very spaghetti Western. It's almost, what is it?
Like-
I'm sure in Rebels or something there was an episode very similarly, like it's all been done before in Star Wars. It was very cool. And he sort of liked that, but it was it was in your face. It was like, this is mostly Western with a little bit of sci-fi. And then the next one, which one was that? The next one was Tatooine Rhapsody, which is no fighting. There's a little bit of like running and a little bit of shootouts, little scuffle, but yeah, he got 10 minutes into that one and was like, I can't do it. And then he tried the next episode, which is the one that everyone is talking about, which is people fighting in space with no face mask or anything on, and he got like 5 minutes into it and was like, I'm done. This is horrible. And I was like, oh man, okay. And he's not an anime guy either, Nick. And so I think the big thing with Star Wars is if you really enjoy that Western sci-fi, there's like 2 or 3 of these episodes that you're really gonna like. And for everything else, you gotta be a fan of like the art style and sort of just go with the story, as opposed to, this is Star Wars, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it's just robots fighting each other.
So does it feel like, a like samurai like anime universe that has like Star Wars stuff in it, or does it feel like it's a Star Wars anime? Like, does that question make sense?
Yes. So I feel like for a couple of them, it feels like, yeah, this is Star Wars. It's just animated. But there's also like a couple of them like kind of like the Tatooine Rhapsody, or like Toby, we're just like, oh, this is an anime, but they have a lightsaber.
Yeah, I mean the spinning umbrella of lightsabers part there was just on screen is quite something. I think that's probably like a perfect description of like why I don't like most anime. I will say most because like there's that old like TIE Fighter anime film.
Oh yeah,
that's
the short.
Gorgeous. It's beautiful. But it's very much more like a Disney type of anime where things are more about subtlety and smooth movements. There's not a lot of like, like a lot of like people like going up close to the screen and flashes and faces, like their big, eyes getting bigger and stuff like that, which you kind of attribute to like that anime style. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important for people that maybe are like me to convince them to try it, because there's too often in the world we live in today, people write things off without trying it.
Very
and
true.
You don't realize what you're missing out on, because who knows, maybe you end up liking it more, or it grows on you. Like I'll give it a shot. I meant to shout this out in the last one, but I did want to shout it out real quick. The Star Wars Sounds of the Galaxy, I believe is the name of it, on Disney Plus. It's basically Foley. It's just the sound sounds of Star Wars without music. It's remixed. It's amazing background noise to have. You have like the walkers walking on Hoth, and you just hear the sound of the feet of the walkers. You have the land speeder and Tatooine passing by. You have the droids rolling around. It's awesome. So I highly recommend you guys watch that. That's one of the things I've been kind of hooked on recently. I will get to Star Wars Visions at some point. I watched Star Wars Rebels for the sake of being able to be a part of the conversation. I opposed watching Rebels for so long because I thought it was a kid's show. And you know what? I was glad I watched it, because there is a lot of stuff in there that is actually pretty darn good. I don't think it's an amazing show, but I gave it a shot and I ended up liking a lot of it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great, Nick, that's a really good transition back into like the whole Visions thing, because my wife and I did have that conversation when we finished all of the episodes. Some of them are really hit or miss, and we did rewatch a couple of them, but it really comes down to the theme, right? And it made some of these episodes that seem hard to watch because they aren't really Western in their sci-fi.
Yeah.
But it made them easier, and it made you think about like the Star Wars world at large, right? Very similarly, at least I got that feeling, a similar feeling from watching The Mandalorian, where it's like, yeah, this is a lived-in world that's more than just like good versus evil, like Jedi fighting Sith, although there is a lot of that in there. So I think you might be surprised by some of these, but of course not knowing like the what is it, Colfax mentioned Toby. I'm a huge fan of Astro Boy, and so watching that I was like, oh, but then of course, you know, my wife and I were sitting there, was like, oh, you know, it's just two guys fighting, or it's a child and a dude fighting. But then I got to thinking, I was like, dude, if I was like 5 years old, like 6 or 7, and I watched that to me, I was doing that as a kid. It, like, literally, and the way it's drawn and the whole theme throughout that episode is it's all through a child's eyes, and that made me, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. Like, it was so surreal, and I was like, wow, it's really kind of subtle. Well, I guess maybe it's not. It's very in your face, but it took me a second to realize it as an adult. And so that made a lot more of these episodes, especially like Tatooine Rhapsody as well, more enjoyable. And so I would say give it a try if you get a chance, Nick.
I will. I'll report back to you guys once I get around to it. Yoda Taco, the original scripts are based on Kurosawa's films, like Seven Samurai. Great movie, by the way. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, little known fact, or maybe little known fact, were massive Kurosawa fans. They actually even like put money together to try to get him to make more movies. They idolize that man. Star Wars, I don't know if we'd have Star Wars if it weren't for Kurosawa.
Absolutely.
It certainly would be very different. So, good point there. So I will have to check it out. For those of you guys that are on the fence, again, like I said about Rebels, try it. Also, check out Sounds of the Galaxy. It's super cool. It's great background noise to have. That's on Disney+. We'll head back to our topics. Deslin mentioned, what are the dinosaurs? We're trying something different, but we'll be back with dinosaurs in the next one. We've got plenty of dinosaurs to talk about, but Drew works for the post office, and he had mentioned a couple times, let's do something about the working for the post office, being a mail carrier. So it's time for Drew and the post office. So Drew, without further ado, tell us what you do on a daily basis.
Sure.
And some of you guys might not sound interesting, but it is super interesting given COVID, the election, and the holidays every year. So hit us with it.
I got about 300 more Trump ballots that I blow my nose with that I need to get.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, hilarious. So it's so interesting too, because I have customers come up to me and they're like, can't you read? Like, don't you know this thing? And well, we'll get into it. So in the get up early in the morning, right? We start at 7 a.m. Not every post office starts at around that time. There are some offices that start as late as like 9:30 and 10 o'clock, or even like 11, and that's crazy, because that means these carriers are going to be out delivering mail for anywhere between 10 to 12 hours, depending on who shows up to work. Which is nuts. It means people are going to be out there late at night, long after dark, delivering mail. And of course, as people grow up learning, the mail must be delivered. And if the mail isn't delivered, it is delivered on days it shouldn't be delivered, like Sunday, which is also pretty crazy. So we come in the morning, we clock in, and I love the videos that you've got here. This is great.
I love Portlandia. Shout out to Portlandia. This is one of my favorite sketches.
Hilarious. So we come in the morning and we have to case our mail. So we're given a route, unless you're like what is it? They call them a CCA, which are sort of like newer carriers. They're not regulars yet. They're sort of part-time. Although like part-time is a very loose term, because they work anywhere from 12 to 15 hours per day, 6 days a week, which is nuts. And then we case the mail. So most routes have about anywhere between 300 to 700 deliveries on them. And you're given a stack of letters, and these regulars know the route. They know, 1100 Martino, that's where this letter goes here. And they case up the mail that is not sorted by machines. A lot of people don't like it, but of course our union fought for the carrier's right to be able to case that mail. Because when the machines took over, the government wanted the machines to do it, so we would come in at a later time and just take the machine case stuff. But of course, these machines are they were made in the 70s, and they're now falling apart, and they don't give mail to us in the proper order. So that's why we case it. And then we pull down pull it down in order. We load up our truck with parcels now. There was a joke amongst carriers. It is not called the United States Postal Service anymore. It is called the United States Parcel Service because it is slowly becoming more and more about the parcels. And yeah, we throw everything into a truck, or as I call it, the tin can. Or if you
Yeah.
want to, for those of you who work and are single and want to get the ladies, you say, "Hey, I drive a 1985 Chevrolet for a living," and that's the LLVs, the long life vehicles. Those are what they are essentially.
Yeah.
They've been
Long life for maybe the male, but not the person driving it in the heat. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely. There are people there. I mean, and there's the other thing too. You got Facebook, you have social media. You can follow other what they call postal groups where people will literally cook steaks and like take photos and video of them cooking their food on the dashboard of the postal vehicle. Like, I gotta be honest with you guys, like the government doesn't give a shit about us. Like, really. And we are alive because we have a union that protects us. So unionizing is definitely the thing. Oh, no, I'm good, thank you though. My wife is trying to give me more food. I've eaten already.
Aw.
Yeah, right. No, it's all good. It's all good. But
So
anyways,
is just to interject, if anybody has any questions about working for the post office for being a mail carrier, please drop them in the chat right now. I have many, but I want to get to anyone that maybe has a question. Drew, sorry to cut you off, but I did.
No,
one of the
please.
things I'm curious about is how do you feel? Do you feel like there was a lot of added stress during the election because of COVID and mail-in ballots? Do you feel like that was... Did you feel like, oh, I'm doing like my duty for the country, like I'm helping deliver like people's votes and manufacture them so that Biden can win? Ha ha ha. Or did it just feel like, any other day, just with more, mail?
Cue the Starship Troopers. I'm doing my part as like the little child in the row of army guys.
I'm doing my part. Yeah, Colfax just said that to me the
Yep.
other day. It's fun.
Oh, it's so great. Anyways, no. So our town is very small. Mail-in ballots, we didn't really see a whole lot. The biggest thing is when we are trained to like not give our political views to anyone, and if we are followed, which we are occasionally by supervisors, just to make sure like we're doing our job properly, because let's be honest, they don't really know what we're doing out there. Which is sadly true sometimes. I mean, there's no video cameras in the car. They can't really see what we're doing. But even so, political stuff we are trained to stay away from. If anyone asks us something, we have to kind of just be like, "Oh yeah, that sucks," or like, "Oh yeah, I wish I could give you my opinion, but I can't," and then just keep going with it. There have been protests, for example, too, right as the pandemic started, and then as we got up closer to the election, there were storefronts that closed down. So delivering the mail became a lot harder because they would close down for 2 or 3 days, because of the threats of like, something's gonna happen. Of course, nothing, at least here, not a whole lot of stuff happened, so that was good. But as far as turning in the ballots, nah, man, we literally just do our jobs. It didn't slow us down. Political mail is always nasty. For example, when we're out delivering, you have your DPS, that's letters. You have your cased flats. Those are the magazines that you have cased up and pulled down. And if you're on a driving route, you have FSS, which is computer cased flats, or computer sorted flats. And then the political mail is usually what we call a fourth bundle. So it's extra mail that you have to carry with your normal mail. So during the political season, our time out there on the street delivering goes up by at least an hour or more, depending on how much political mail there is. Not only because it's political, but people are also cheap. So they buy the really thin, like fine, razor sharp pieces of paper for the political mail, and it takes a while to unravel it with a glove or a rubber. We have little rubber bands for our fingers to pick them out. Yeah, it just takes a long time, and so of course that's when people are like, "Oh, my ballot didn't come in early enough," or "Oh, it was late." Like, not only do these computers sort those fourth bundles, but then we have to deliver them, and it just takes longer. It's a very long, slow process, and like I said before, the government has been arguing for years about getting us new vehicles, giving us the ability to have like faster delivery services. And as Nick, you mentioned, the car we drive is a tin can. It's cold it's cold in winter, and it's hotter than hell in summer. Anywhere between 5 to 7 degrees colder and 5 to 7 degrees warmer inside the truck when delivering, which is insane. And that's with the windows down. And they gave us, what is it, in the 90s, the union, I think it was the 90s, the union passed a law, and we were given comfort fans, which is literally just a metal fan on the rim of the dashboard that just blows hot air at us. And that's what we use to cool off.
Horrible.
And it's just, yeah, dude. And that's the thing. It's like, dude, this is our government. Like, we are a government entity, you know, and obviously, you know, taxes. People make this argument that you guys pay taxes, right? We pay your taxes to deliver the mail to us. We actually don't, or you don't pay taxes for it. But because of the laws that our government has passed to try and privatize and crush the United States Post Office, we are forced to ask the government for more money to keep working. So that is, I guess that's the other big gripe about, if I can, I mean, there's only 13 people watching, right? Like, you learn yourself.
Only 13.
There was a law.
13 amazing people.
There was a law passed in 2006 that forced USPS to have to pay, what is it? I think it was like 50 years in advance for all of their carriers' retirement. And these are carriers that we don't even have yet in the post office. And that year we were making, I think it was either 9 million or 9 billion in profit. I think it was 9 million.
Yeah. And there's no way they made a billion in profit.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. No, the numbers are right. But all I know is that the next year, the post office made 3 million in profit, and the year after that they were 6 million under budget, and it just kept getting worse from there. 75 years of prepaid benefits. Yeah, exactly.
And shout out to NW Vader, gifting 5 subs. Just decided to be a madman once again. Thank you so much for gifting those subs. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the support, man. Seriously, NW Vader. We should have a segment just talking about how awesome NW Vader is.
Can we bring him on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. If he's around, I would really love.
What do you?
I'm in. Yeah. I'm in here.
But so that's the
No, just to have him as a guest.
Absolutely.
If he's willing.
So that's the post office in a nutshell, man. You know, we do our work, and there's the one big thing to me that kind of blows my mind is people don't seem to think we have days off. There's a comic strip that's really funny where postal worker gives mail to their customer, and the customer's like, "Oh, hey, you know, great, you know, it's Good Friday, right? Oh yeah, it's Great Friday. All right, cool. Have a great weekend." And the postal worker turns on and goes, "Oh yeah, I'll see you tomorrow." Turns on and leaves. Like, but we do get days off, and some people just don't seem to understand that. And on our days off, other people do the route, and those people may or may not be good at delivering the mail.
Yeah.
Because they're not familiar with the route. Yeah, so if you've ever wondered why your mail is delivered improperly once a week and twice a week every 5 weeks, that's the reason why. So
Blackberry Jam Studios privatizing national services, never a good thing. They haven't privatized the USPS, but they've defunded USPS.
They're trying to get it to the point where we have to privatize ourselves to stay afloat.
And they've been trying to get electric vehicles, but Workhorse couldn't deliver the contract for the electric vehicles, so they're still super behind in getting that done. I've seen the prototype, like it's happening. It's gonna be a while.
I'll find a photo of it. I'll send it to you guys. It looks like. Have you guys ever seen Disney's Cars?
It's huge.
Of course you have.
It's super tall, isn't it?
It looks like a Cars car. Yeah. You put the eyeballs on it on Halloween. On Halloween, my words. When we get those vehicles in 2 years, I'm gonna do it. I'll take a photo. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh man! All right, times for the memes of the day.
Let's do it.
Featuring a lot of great Colfax memes.
Do it again.
So,
dude, your shit.
First
man,
off,
it's the shit. It's so good.
Lord of the Rings, where everything's the same except Merry and Pippin have a sniper rifle. I just can't fathom. I gotta need that to happen. Shoot him, Pip! It's your turn to shoot. No, it's yours. I don't know how to use it. A Barrett 50 cal too. It's a massive sniper rifle. Like Lurtz is about to take that Boromir, that's just a giant, like just massive round through his forehead. Next to Merry and Pippin with their sniper rifle. Oh my god. Here's one that Colfax, yeah, It's Always Sunny. Vader, the TIE Fighter, R2 in the X-Wing. Doesn't he shoot R2?
That's not the point.
That's.
But like, that's even worse.
It's like R2, you little shit. You're for the rebels now.
Revenge of the Sith, he gets out of his Ada, and he's like, R2 stay with the ship. And if R2 didn't stay with the ship, oh my god, he would have been scarred for his little droid life. Because I don't think, his memory's never been wiped.
Yeah.
R2's memory's never been wiped. So he would have been a lot of genocide in his life.
That was wiped, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just 3POs, and then it was unwiped, so it's fine.
That's right.
Here you go. I release you from the spell. You have no power here, right? You have no power here. This is a crossover with Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. I love this one so much.
We're gonna have a Lord of the Rings segment at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll add a Lord of the Rings. Yes, we'll add a Lord of the Rings segment.
Excellent.
So good. It's so good. Oh my god, I love it. I love it. Adele says new album will explain her divorce to her young son. Mom, why do I only see Dad on the weekends? Track 5.
Way easier than talking to your kids.
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly. It's fine. Taylor Swift can talk about breakups. Adele can talk about the divorce. She looks great. She's lost so much weight, man. It's crazy. Good for her. Good for her. Here's another good Colfax one. If they lose, they tell us who the Sith Lord is. If we lose, we hand over the Chancellor. Awkward! Whoever wins is about to learn some very shocking truths. I like how Savage Press is there. Like, I have no idea who the fuck the Chancellor, like the Emperor is. He's just there.
Ball just needed a partner. You need another hand.
I know. Macho Man Randy Savage Press.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's about to get real. That's a good one. Lastly, another great Colfax one. When you visit the Empire, when the Empire visits you. Oh, so it's America. No way, he has a point. He's got a point.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I found the oil. Kyber crystals. I found Kyber crystals.
By the way, Emperor's New Groove is probably the best, like most underrated, maybe the best Disney animated film, at least in terms of comedic. It's so good. It is so good. Super, super good. That's a great one. And all right, guys, lastly, we do have our giveaways. Let's see if I can pull up Greg shouting about giveaways real quick.
No, he's got a point.
Wait,
yep.
Is it on here? No, it's... Oh, it is on here. Here we go.
No.
Gotta start over because it's laggy.
You know what's
Lagging.
it is?
The most.
I don't know.
useless
It's
activity.
OBS, man. It works like 9%, 90% of the time. 9%, it feels like it.
Some free shit.
Ooh, that's bad. We're gonna try that one more time.
You know what time it is?
There we go. Now it's perfect.
Giveaway
I don't
time.
understand,
Nick
man.
gonna give us some free
Shit. All right,
Weird.
fifth time's the charm. Yeah, it's just OBS. Sorry, guys. I try on my end, but OBS doesn't really agree with me most of the time. So here's the deal: we are starting our new X-Wing League on October 27th. Colfax is playing in it, and so is Drew. And a couple of players generously donated an entry to play. So you don't have to worry about the cost, but if you would like to play in our league, it's once a week, extended, for 6 weeks, with an amazing group of people. If you want to play and get some cool free prizes, type 312 in the chat right now, and I will pick 2 winners to play with us in our league. You get a awesome Paul LaRue exclusive Thane Kyrell Altart card. We don't get a lot of Thane Kyrell these days. And then a 312 partnership of Anakin Skywalker and the Ada Actis. The Ada 2 Actis. and a List Chaos sticker as well. So type 312. So if you're delivering mail 12 to 16 hours a day, how are the trucks going to have enough?
I was gonna type a response real quick. So the new trucks are actually hybrids. There's a case that is empty in the front under the hood of the truck where you can place a battery. What they're trying to do is they're just trying to get these vehicles out. So they will be gas powered with the ability to become electric powered in the future. So the first part is to get the cars out so that we can have more, I guess, comfort in doing what we do best, delivering mail. And then the next step is adding in those electric batteries. And I don't know how long they're gonna last. I know my brother just got a Tesla, so I'm like loosely familiar with how charging it works and like how long they can go for and how long they need to charge it for. But other than that, I couldn't tell you. All I know is that they're hybrids and there'll be a set to do both at some point.
Yeah, hopefully sooner than later, man. Gotta get you some AC.
But there's the other, yeah, absolutely. Oh, please, that's the one thing that we all want. But there's the other thing too. There's the other thing too is that real quick, as far as like grievances go, the union stepping in, if any carrier works over 12 hours in a single day, it's a grievance, and that makes the district come down on that office. So problem is we do the work, we work the 12 hours or more. It shouldn't happen, and we get paid more by the union, and that's basically the compensation for it. So we are compensated properly for it, and we're not supposed to be out that late, but a lot of offices are because the people are retiring, right? 60% of the workforce is over the age of 60 or 55, I think it is.
Wow.
And they're within a few ranges to retire. So people are worried that most of our postal workers are going to be gone within the next few years. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyways,
holding out, man.
Let's do it. 312.
Last chance. 312 in the chat if you want a chance to play in our league. Get free prizes, free entry.
Yoda Taco's the only one. Are they getting it?
No, there's a few people.
There's a few people. Okay, I got it. My chat is not loading properly then.
We'll see you in this tournament league.
So last call. Just type 312. Just giving away 2 entries. If you are worried about like committing, look, it's a free entry. You can drop at any time. I recommend playing all 6 weeks, but there's also a playoff at the end for additional prizes, a server emote, and the league champ role, which is fun. All right, here we go. First winner is Psionic Rain. Psionic Rain, if you'd like to pass on to someone else, let me know. Yoda Taco is the second winner. And you know what? Blackberry Jam wanted to play as well. Blackberry Jam wins too. So that is 3 of you guys. Just need to sign up on Tabletop TO. Just go into our Discord on the signups, which is at the very top of the Discord. And sign up on Tabletop TO, and I will immediately approve you. You do not have to worry about paying anything because you don't need to. You got free entry. So thank you guys for sticking around tonight. It was awesome having Colfax. Dude, thank you for being here, man. I hope you enjoyed yourself and you felt like it was worth it. It was great to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you just so much for having me. It was a blast, man.
Dude, we will be back in 2 weeks. Yeah, man. It's always fun talking about B-Wings, too. B-Wings and E-Wings and all the wings.
All the ships.
All the ships. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We will be talking about dinosaurs again. I have not picked a guest just yet. We got to figure that out. Much love from us to you, from us to the B-Wings, of course. We love our B-Wings. And
B-Wings.
What is that?
Oh, it's my dinosaur.
Very cool.
It's
my dinosaur.
I'm a big
a
fan of
Warhammer
like,
dinosaur.
I went to school for filmmaking, so I paid $40,000 to learn how to do this. Going down the steps.
I love it. I actually kind of for the Drew Loves Dinosaurs animation, it's a little dinosaur's head like poking around.
I see.
Yeah.
I love stuff.
It. All right, you guys, we'll be back streaming on Friday, and then we'll be doing X-Wing on Saturday. We're still looking for people to play for our List Chaos stream, so if you have any interest in playing on our stream for X-Wing, let us know. We need a few more people. All right, you guys, we'll be back soon. Thank you, Colfax. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Colfax. Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. We'll be seeing you guys soon. 312 and Drew and Colfax signing off.